All right, matchmakers, welcome to today's show. Today's topic is that so many people tell me that, especially there's two times a year I feel that many of you fall off track. Um, the holidays, pretty much from October through the end of the year, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Kim, between Halloween and Thanksgiving and all the variety of holiday parties, I just can't. It's so hard." Or summertime, right? I live in New England, and so I get it. Like, we're cooped up for probably, 7 to 8-ish months out of the year. And so when we finally get that like taste of like 70 plus degrees, we are like, crazy in the streets. So I completely understand that, you want to go out and have the ice cream and have the lobster rolls and, you know, not feel like you are a prisoner of your own make it when it comes to nutrition. And so, with that said, I wanted to break down like 8 things that are going to help you like stay on track. And it's not, you know, I want to say that it's not about, I don't, most people are like, oh, you have some superpower. I don't have superpowers. You don't have superpowers. What it is that I've been able to like get to a place, and I want you to get to that place too, where I ask myself questions before I take actions. And I've spent, and maybe this sounds like you, that someone who's listening, you spent more times circling your brain around why did I do that? Oh, how did that happen? Oh, I suck. And all the negative loops that we go through after we have something, drink something that was never intended. And do I have those moments? They're few and far between. But for the most part, I'm like, you know what? I can control my path. And I have free will, right? I'm a grown ass woman. I have free will. And so it's like if I choose to go off track, it's going to be because I want to. It's not going to be because, oh, I was with this certain group of friends, or oh, I was at this restaurant, or oh, I was at this party. It's like starting to be able to have a little bit more self-awareness, a little more self-intelligence around what scenarios do I struggle with, right? Where do the temptations pop up and kind of try to knock me out of the game? And so I get it, right? Losing weight is a challenging endeavor because it's not like, I hear this analogy all the time. It's not like, if I were an alcoholic, it's really easy to not drink. We need food for life. And not eating, that's like saying, I want to die, right? Where it's very easy to be like, you know what? I am not going to drink alcohol. I don't need alcohol. There's no nutritional value. There's nothing really I get from alcohol. But food, my body's like, hey girl, I need that. So for many of you, it's really challenging. And so it's hard, it's sometimes challenging to avoid the temptations that can derail your progress. But that's what we're talking about today. How here are some practical strategies to help you stay on track. All right, so let's get started. The first one, always, I need to know where I'm driving my bus, right? So setting clear goals is essential. And the other day, a good friend of mine was talking about this, is that many times we set a goal, but we keep moving the end, the finish line, right? So it's like you tell yourself, oh, I just want to lose the belly fat. And then you lose the belly fat. Oh, but if I can lose another 10 pounds, oh, but if I could put on a little muscle, oh, if I could run a marathon. And like you keep adding the things, and that it's like, I'm not done. I'm not done. I'm not done. And now I'm okay with re-establishing goals and resetting goals. And that's totally fine because I always feel like, if we are aspiring towards something, then it gives us that internal motivation. However, if the goal was to lose the belly fat and you're not happy when you lose that belly fat, and then we create another goal trying to chase happiness or trying to chase some other feeling that we didn't think we would get by losing said, achieving said goal, that's when we have to kind of take a step back and understand, and it's part of, what's the why behind it, right? What is the why behind it? And for many of you, I had a client a few years ago. Her biggest why was that she was exhausted playing with her kid, and she just wanted to have energy to play with her kid. Now, that ain't a dress size, that ain't a number on the scale. That is like what was her motivation, to be able to play with her kid. So you have to kind of understand that you have to understand, like, why do you want to lose the weight? Why do you want to, whatever it is that your goal is, what are you hoping to achieve that will provide you with the motivation that will help you to resist temptation along the way? So this is like, as I'm putting this out for everyone who's ever said, oh, if I only had more willpower, more discipline, more motivation, everything I'm laying out, this feeds into that, right? This, discipline, motivation, willpower isn't something that, could swing by Target and pick up. If you could, I would tell you, I'd provide a link, but that's not the way it works. So it's like, we have to ask ourselves, what is our goal? And be specific. This is what my goal is. And don't kind of start to like second guess yourself. Start moving the goal line so that you are always in that never ending, like satisfied mode. And I get that. I'm an A++ person, but I also had to learn that, like, goals were these mile markers along my path. And it wasn't this like happiness meter. It was like, this is what I want to achieve, and this is why I want to achieve. And the big key here is create a deadline, because that deadline gives you a sense of urgency, but it also gives you, I call it flexible structure. I have a client, and when we first started, she was very like, she's a planner, right? And that's great. I love plans. I think you do need a plan for everything, but I also think you need to, that box that you're in has to be a little like elastic. That's what I'm looking for. It has to be a little elastic. It's like, kind of has to be like a balloon. It has to be able to expand and contract. And she would always just like get so wrapped around the axle if there was a shift in her plan, and she would be like, she didn't know how to like shift with the plan. It was kind of like, trying to, have a tractor trailer do a 360. She just was like, wow. And it threw her off kilter all the time. She had a very spontaneous spouse who would be like, hey, let's go out to dinner. Hey, let's go away for the weekend. Or, hey, let's do this. And she was just like, whoa, I need some time to like factor, plan, do this. And, and I get that to some degree. I've, in past episodes, I talked about how like my biggest thing would be like, if that like, so spontaneous thing came up, it was like, wait, how am I going to work out? What am I going to eat? And I know that feeling firsthand. And so I think a deadline gives you that urgency to be like, all right, this is what I'm marching towards. And it gives you the structure. But I also feel like in a later, later in the podcast, we'll talk about that I need to be able to, have that flexibility so that I don't get so pissed off, right? When things get a little off kiltered, right? But it's also, when I create a deadline, it's not about rushing, and I use this all the time, expectations. So many of us, and I think, you've been programmed, I know I was programmed by the diet industry that like everything should take me 12 weeks. Like in 12 weeks, boom, bada boom, I should have my goal. However, the diet industry doesn't take into effect that you've been dieting since you're 15. You have been under eating forever. You're stressed like a mofo. You don't sleep. So it's like there are other factors that are going to impact your results that you don't hear about that on the commercial on the TV. You don't hear about that. The commercial on the TV is just say, hey, girlfriend, if you have cortisol problems, pop this pill and bada boom, everything is going to be cured. Or, hey, take this magic elixir 2 times a day, rub it on your head, right? That's all you hear. But there's no backstory behind that. And one of the things that I've learned, is that there is a backstory behind everybody's story, including me. And so when I create this deadline, it is to help me to not rush to consistency, but to help me just understand, like, I'm trying to get here and just create a way station. So I've always lived my life in 90-day increments. And so I always tell people to live their life in 90-day increments, because then it's a smaller scope, but in 90 days, I should be able to see some change, be it in my energy level. If I'm menopausal, maybe I have a reduction in my symptoms. Maybe instead of having 50 hot flashes a day, I'm down to 40 hot flashes a day, or I'm not, sweating out my sheets, or, there is a reduction in the inches that I have. But it's creating that deadline. So it's like, March 1st to June 30th, what can I achieve? And this knowing your why, this is like, I want to say, this is like the big circle that encompasses everything you do. I've talked about this gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek, and he was the one who really verbalized this whole why thing. And so it's like, ask yourself why your goal is important to you. Is it about your health? Did your doctor tell you, hey, girl, if you don't lose 10 pounds, you're going to be on medication. Or if you lose 10 pounds, you're going to get off medication. Or is it, more like you want your pants to button? And that's a good goal. That's not a petty goal, right? If you want your pants to fit, that's your goal. And no one could shame you into thinking that's not a good goal. Maybe you just want to feel good, right? Get up that energy level. Stop just feeling like a slug all the time. Have self-confidence. If you're not feeling good in your body, you just sometimes just hide from everything, hide from that promotion, hide from your spouse, hide from your children, hide from pictures. And then you just don't feel like yourself. And, that could be your why. And, all of this is what is that thing? I believe your why is your motivation, right? What is that thing? I live in New England, that on a February morning, when it is dark outside, when it's cold, when it's snowing, what is that thing that's going to drive you to get out of bed if you told yourself you're going to work out in the morning? What is that thing that is going to drive you when you go to a party and the whole table of desserts are out there? What's going to stop you from just going headfirst in and having someone hold your feet while you eat all the desserts? Or, when you told yourself you were going to have that one glass of wine and it turns into two, then it turns into the bottle. What is that going to be like for you? What is that why? What's that one thing that if you said to yourself, you know what, Kim, this really, if I really want to lose those 10 pounds and get off that medication, this isn't the key to it, right? And so I ask myself those questions in a gentle, loving way versus oh, you silly cow, if you have those cookies, you're never going to get off the medication, right? It's be kind and gentle with ourselves. And that's one of the things that I've been learning over the course of time. My inner critic is a part gang member. So I know exactly how harsh your inner critic can be. And then we come into self-awareness. And this one is really challenging for a lot of people because it's starting to really identify your triggers and your patterns of behavior, right? So when I say triggers, it's food triggers, right? Are there certain foods that you eat that when you eat them, you become a hungry hippo? Are there foods that when you eat them, you feel bloated? Are there foods that you eat them, you just your energy just zaps? So it's like that. So it's food triggers, but it's also people triggers, right? Are there certain people that when you are around, you find yourself just throwing caution to the wind and you're like, I know I said I was going to only have 2 glasses of wine, but we'll have another glass of wine and bring on the guac and the chips, right? Are those people that you're around that trigger you to just kind of throw caution to the wind? Are there just places you go that kind of trigger you to be like, I'm on vacation, or I'm at the lake house, or, I'm at the ski house? Are there those kind of situations that trigger you to create different, behave differently. But then also, do you notice like your certain patterns of behavior that, you know, what the trigger is, and now we start to notice like what is the behavior when that trigger happens. So when it comes to habits, there's a stimuli, right? There's a stimuli that says, so for example, like brush your teeth. The stimuli is you got out of bed, right? You're like, oh, morning, it's alarm, I'm going to brush my teeth. Oh, once I brush my teeth, I'm going to get in the shower, right? So it's like there is a stimulus, there is an action, there's a stimulus, there's a cue, and then there's an action that you take, right? So it's like, think about that. It's like, what is that cue that is the trigger, which makes you take a particular action? So as we start to pay attention to the situations, the emotions, the environments that start to temptate us, we can start to understand where we're most vulnerable, right? We can start to be more proactive about finding healthier alternatives or knowing. And sometimes it's a hard conversation that you have to have. And, I have a lot of friends who are not afraid of a good time. And I remember when I was competing, I would have to, I stopped drinking. I would not drink for 6 months when I was competing. And so I would stop drinking on, literally January 2nd, I would stop drinking, and I wouldn't have another drink until the end of June. And I would, I'd still be invited to things, and I'd go, and I would have like soda water, or I'd have water or whatever. And, people were like, what's happening? What's going on? And I was like, you know what? Hey, I'm like, just so you know, I'm not drinking. I'm like, I'm on the wagon, and don't ask. Don't think if you buy me a drink, I'll drink it. And I have a friend who literally will, like, I will be sitting at a table, and if I said I'm going to only have one glass of wine, will inevitably buy another glass of wine and be like, I knew we'd want another one. And I was like, I said I was only having one glass, and it will sit there. I will not drink it because I told myself I was having one glass of wine. Right. And so if you're clear and you have those, sometimes awkward conversations, and, it's funny how there's certain things that are peer pressure that we still, enable. And he will always do it. He'll be like, I'll be like, no, the waiter will come and say, hey, you want another glass of wine? I'm like, nope, I'm good. And he's like, just bring her another one anyway. And I'm like, and I look at the waiter, I'm like, don't you dare. I'm like, I don't you dare. I was like, I'm good. And the waiter kind of like is like stuck in the middle. And so then, now it's become a thing that I'm like, yeah, if I said I didn't want another fucking glass of wine, I do not want another fucking glass of wine. So sometimes you have to put your foot down and know create your boundaries. And for us women, we aren't really taught boundaries. We're taught that if I were to be in that situation, I'm being bitchy. If I'm in that situation, I'm being bossy. And, we're socialized to be docile. And, it's for a long time, it's like, it's creating boundaries creates friction, is what we've been taught. And we want to be friction free. And sometimes you have to just, again, you don't have to be bitchy. Be like, hey, I'm only having one glass of wine tonight. Boom, done. And then it's like, then you have to hold that boundary if that person pushes it for you. Same thing with food pushers. Like, oh, you know what? I'm only having, I'm not going to have dessert tonight. I'm going to have wine, or I'm not going to have wine. I'm going to have dessert. And then, that food pusher comes at you, just have to be like, what? I love your food, but, my waistline, or, find a way to easily deflect it. But it's like, we have to stick with our boundaries, because if we become more self-aware of what causes us to fall off track, then we have more opportunity to navigate around it. And what that means is becoming more accountable to yourself, right? It's like accountability is crucial when it comes to staying off track, because it means like we're going to regularly evaluate how we're doing. So we could celebrate our successes and reflect on anything that needs to be improved. And so one of the ways that I work with the clients to do is like, okay, we're going to take an action, right? So if you said that, you said your goal was to lose weight, great. Now, here, what are some of the simple actions? I'm all about simplicity. What are some of the simple actions you can start to take right now? And so what if they said, all right, Kim, I can start to eat more vegetables. Great. Awesome. How many more vegetables do you eat? Is it, how many cups a day, pieces of fruit, pieces of vegetables? Like, how are we going to measure this? And so if they say, I'm going to have an extra cup of vegetables every single day. Great. Awesome. So now 2 weeks in, we assess and analyze. How's it going? Right? How many days a week have you been able to do that? How are you feeling with that? Does it feel good? Does it feel easy? Does it feel hard? Are there any bumps in the road? And then we could go back, assess, correct, repeat. And so that, we took the action, we assess what's going on, we analyze if there's any changes that need to be made. And then if there is a change, we repeat and we assess again. And just kind of that process is like, think of it as like one of those like giant continuous circles, that it's never going to be this like set it and forget it, right? I know everyone wants weight loss to be set it and forget it. And me too. But we're always evolving and assessing like what's going on. Do we need to tweak, or do we need to stay the path, right? And that's where that's where we live the most, because when I do that, this helps me to start create these solid habits. And that Fit Girl Magic formula is that great habits lead to great routines. Those routines lead to consistency, and that consistency leads to lasting results, right? So healthy habits is the foundation of successful weight loss, because we're creating these sustainable routines, such as regular exercise, mindful eating, sleeping, stress management, self-care, so that these habits are going to be that like foundation of weight loss, so that we can start to be, build our armor for those temptations. Because it's like, if I regularly get in the habit of telling myself I can have whatever I want to eat, however, I have to like have it within, moderation, then I start to look at food differently. Where, in the past, I remember I would be that coach that would hand you a meal plan and be like, do this or die. And, some people struggled in that. And I know right now, if you were to hand me a meal plan, I would struggle, because it's like, I need structure, but I also need flexibility. I need to be able to, that some days I'm not going to go off the rails, but some days if you tell me that today's the day I'm going to have salmon, green beans, and a sweet potato, and I'm not feeling salmon, I'm not going to eat. And then if I'm not going to eat, I get over hungry. And when I get over hungry, release the hounds. So, there it's that habit piece, is that it's like, I want to get in I want my clients, I want them to get into the habit of every meal has protein, right? Where I'm leaving that door pretty open. Like, protein is protein. And then, giving them the guidelines for what your plate, if you're trying to lose weight, what that should look like for you, so that, you can, it's a quick thing. It's not like, wait, hang on, let me look at this piece of paper. All right, 5 ounces of this. No, I want us women to get away from that and really start to focus, zero in on, how does food make me feel, right? Can I get more protein in? Because especially as a woman over 40, we're trying to maintain all that muscle mass. It also makes you feel fuller longer. Trying to get in that good fat, right? Right now I'm doing a lot of reading on the Mediterranean diet. And let's be honest, right? There's the whole talk about blue zone people, and people who live in these blue zones, they live really long, they have amazing skin. And it's because they eat a primarily Mediterranean diet. So I'm doing a lot of reading on that right now. So I want to, I'm going to tap into that a little bit more in these podcasts. But it's like, here, it's like creating those habits that set you up for success, right? Versus the habits that like you have to like be in the perfect place. You have to, all the stars must align in order for you to have your habits come to life. And I always, always tell my clients that like the best way to establish habits is when you don't need them. Like when you're busy, when you are so busy, when you're on vacation, and most people laugh. I'm like, no, I'm not being funny. I'm saying this is where those habits are going to serve you very well, because that leads into what I call if then statements. In my 5 days of consistency challenge, I talk a lot about these if then scenarios. And one of the biggest things that people get, we all get tripped up by the same stuff, right? And when I say we all, like, for some, maybe this is you. If you miss your grocery shopping day, you're done. Like, you're just like, I can't go to the grocery store. I don't, like, there's no food in the house. I'm destined to eat crap. Maybe it's, you go away for the weekend and you aren't in control of your food. So you're just like, I don't know what to do with myself. Or, you don't know what to do with yourself because you're not working out, so forth. So one of the things is that I work with them to come up with, like, what are the scenarios that happen for you? And we all have the same things, the same shit pops up all the time. So just sitting down and considering the situations that are going to pop up. Or you can do it as, like, as I mentioned, there's a certain friend. We go out to dinner with him. He's the person who, if I say I'm only going to have one glass of wine, he's like, are you sure? It's only wine, right? But like, what am I going to say? How am I not going to not be like, go fuck yourself? How do I just think that and not say it? Right. Versus, hey, this is my journey, leave me alone. Like, you do you, and I'm good. But it's like going through those scenarios so that we have the strategies in place so that we can just, like, boom, navigate those moments so that you're prepared and empowered to make better choices in the situation. Versus sometimes, you're in that situation and you feel flat-footed and just kind of like, I don't know what to do. Where it's like we've already, like, pre-programmed, pre-planned that at the same time. And now, I alluded to this earlier, I have a client who, like, she's very structured, and, her husband's not. So it would be this, like, kind of like yin and yang going on. And it's like being able to, having the flexibility on your weight loss journey is paramount, right? Because if it's twofold, right? If I find that the initial plan isn't working, right? After we've decided this is what we're going to do, we've made the assessment, we could course correct if things going on. It helps us, like, reflect on what's working and what's not working, so we can start to be open to new approaches. And this is one of the things that I work a lot with clients on, is that, many of the clients who come to me, they're in their 40s, right? We have been dieting since we've been 15 years old. And so many come to me and they're stuck in this, like, very rigid mindset. There's actually 4 mindsets that I find that clients seem to get stuck in when it comes to weight loss. And so the first one is that, like, this is how it has to be. I've done the same diet for umpteen times and I've gotten results. And then now, I don't know why. What the hell? Pissed, blah, blah, blah. Right. So it's like we're so stuck in that rigid mindset where just like, I have to eat less, exercise more. I have to not have carbs, not sugar or gluten. Like, I have to restrict till I'm literally living off Diet Coke and rice cakes, right? That's the only way I'm going to get results. The second one is that you are resistant, like, it's not working. You're like, it's not working, but that certainty, you need that certainty. Your brain certainty is trying to save you. It's like, yeah, but if you go down that route, you don't know what's going to happen, and it could be worse. But we know if we go down this road, we know what's going to happen. We're going to be disappointed, but we're going to do it anyway, right? So we have that resistance where, like, we know that something needs to change. We peek around the corner, but we're not quite sure if we're ready to go around the block. And then the roadblocks, right? The same shit trips you up over and over and over again, that you get knocked down and you're not Chumbawamba and you don't get back up again. You literally get knocked down and you're just, like, sitting on your ass. You're like, oh God, what next? Right? That's where you're just like, is this my life kind of moment? And then you have the other people who are like, you know what? I have just been beat over the head by this weight loss game so damn much that I am done, right? I am so done with doing the same shit and not getting results, that whatever you tell me I'm doing, I'm just going to do it. Right. And that's where, the flexibility comes in, right? So that you can be open to the new approaches. And it's like you're learning and you're adapting as you work through these various scenarios. And then it's being accountable, right? So it's not only being accountable, it's being accountable to yourself, right? This is crucial to staying on track. It's like regularly saying to yourself, I told myself I'm gonna, go to the gym 3 days a week. I told myself that I'm going to add that extra cup of vegetables. I told myself I'm going to go to get 8 hours of sleep, right? If I told myself these are 3 things, holding myself to that, right? And so in my operations consistency program, we map out we do map out the task that are going to lead to not only better health, but lead to greater consistency and compliance. And that way you're able to start to feel what it feels like to be accountable to yourself, what it feels like to celebrate success in any area that you want to improve. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And so when you work in that program, you are only allowed to pick 1 to 3 things, right? You're not trying, you're not going to be like, I'm going to do all the things. I'm the queen of the world. No, it's like teaching you to scale down so that you can speed. It's teaching you to scale down so that you can speed up. And that accountability is crucial to helping you stay on track. And so, but this at the same time, you want to be able to, for some people, that accountability to self-accountability they don't really do that. And so other ways you could create, accountability is, I have a Facebook group, it's Fit Girl Magic. And every week I give you a challenge. We talk about different things in that Facebook group. Have a workout buddy, or accountability buddy. I have a good friend of mine that, every Monday we text each other, like, what's the plan for this week? And then she texts you back. And, it can't be I can't have a cheerleader, right? It can't be like, oh, you missed it, girl. That's okay. Woo, woo, woo. No, I need someone to be like, oh, you said you were going to work out 3 times this week and you only got in 1. What the hell? What's going on? Like, I need someone to be like, what's going on? Right. I need someone who's like, this was your plan. What happened? And it's like, if I say, oh, you know what? I got sick this week and and this truly happened to me a couple months ago. I got sick and I was coughing so much. I just did not think anyone should be subjected to my coughing. Or, I was like, it was just too disruptive for a workout. And so I didn't work out. And so that is an excuse. It was like, girl, I just didn't feel like getting out of bed. So think to yourself, like, what do you need to be accountable? Another one of my clients, she wanted to start to work out in the morning. And so she would always snooze her alarm, skip her alarm, and then she would be pissed at herself. So then, excuse me, I have no idea why I'm yawning so much. So then she took how much it costs to go to the gym. And then she divided it by the number of months. So say, just for math, say it was $100 was the gym membership, and there were 10 days in the month, just for math. And she would have to give away $10. Like, she would have to leave $10 on the street. And that's what she did. So anytime she, slept, snoozed through her alarm and she couldn't go to the gym, she would, take $10 and randomly leave it around town. So it's like, decide yourself, like, are you someone who needs like punitive things to make you change? Or are you someone who is, more about like celebrating, like, okay, after I get 10 workouts under my belt, I'm going to get a massage. Or, after 10 workouts under my belt, I'm going to, spring for like the full service mani-pedi, right? So it's like thinking about what is going to be that, like, that thing that's going to make you keep on track, right? And then not in like not in a bad way. And finally, I want to add in gratitude, right? And so for a long time, I was like, this is hooey. But gratitude, it impacts your mindset. It's so easy for us to think about all the negative crap in our life versus even if it's one thing, like one thing that you are happy about, right? And I'm going to add like a second layer here, like one thing you're happy about and why, right? So I remember when I first started doing the whole gratitude thing, I was just like, whatever. And then I used to think it would be like this, had to be this, I saved a kitten from a tree today. The tree was on fire, right? That's what I thought it had to be. But it could be something that literally like just like brought you joy that day. And so for me, I used to teach a lot around the city of Boston, and for finding a parking spot, right, so that I didn't have to walk like miles, miles away, in the pouring rain, kind of like sound like a parent. I walked 2 miles a day uphill both ways. I used to teach at this place, and literally, like sometimes I would have to walk like a quarter mile from where parking was, and it just was a pain in the rump shaker. Anyway, so whenever I got like a good parking spot, I would be like, awesome, good parking spot. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for fine. The parking was easy because it meant that I didn't have to sprint to class, and I would get to class and I would be more like mentally focused on the class versus like, scattered because thought I was going to be late, or I parked at a meter and there was still money on it, or it was broken, right? So I'm like, didn't have to pay the meter. So it's like, come up with the little things in your life. Maybe you have a kid that doesn't sleep through the night. I'm so grateful that little nugget slept through the night. So I finally know what it feels like to be able to get 8 hours of sleep, right? So it's just, we start to think about those things as we, as you go through this. But let me just recap before I sign off. Like, what are the things that like are going to help you the 8 ways are just going to help you stay on track. And it's knowing your goals, right? Just sit down and say, these are my goals. Create a deadline. Know your why. Become more self-aware. Keep a gratitude journal. Be more accountable to yourself. Creating solid habits. Creating those what if scenarios, and adjusting the plan if needed. I hope that these strategies help you to resist and stay focused on your weight loss goals. And remember, be kind to yourself, right? Patience and grace go so, so far, ladies, so, so far. And, I would love that if anyone has any further questions about this or wants me to go deeper into it, do me a favor, raise your hand. I am always open to, helping you guys out. That's my goal. That's my love of life. So ladies, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk with you next week.